one of Braden's first three-point attempts, he shot the ball, and you were already pumping your fist.
Yeah.
You had that
I-
telepathic
No,
sense
no,
there that it was going to go in. Is it something
It just-
that you saw
yeah.
leading into this game that knew that he was kind of locked in today?
No, not at all. I don't have that gauge on him. So I just like him. I wish he would shoot more. You know, since day one, I've told him that. Like, shoot the basketball. They want to go under ball screens, stop and shoot it. You know, he's a 40 to 45% three-point shooter. It makes sense to do it. Anytime you have the ability to play through ball screens and get angles and pass and get to the rim and shoot, you know, take your pull-ups too. Like, take your open shots, be aggressive with it. And he likes getting everybody involved. Just, you know, he has really good instincts, but at times he doesn't play off his instincts, and he's just thinking getting everybody involved when he's not going to get anybody involved if they're just going to play and go under him and make him shoot that, and he's not going to do it. So when he did that a couple times, I'd encourage it if he missed it, even though I don't like misses, but it's just the right, you encourage the right place. It was the right play.
Hey, Matt, talk about the toughness of your team. When it got close, kind of the tough got going. What does that say about your team and your coaching to these guys that they just didn't back down?
Yeah, what Iowa did in the second half, to us, scoring the basketball, pressing us, they do it to everybody. They do it to everybody. And they're a team of runs. You just don't want it to be 40 minutes of that. And it was 20 minutes tonight. And we're fortunate, right? The game's tied at halftime. It's a different outcome. But Fran does an unbelievable job every year. Those guys piece it together, and they might lose a guy to the draft, lose Garza, lose Keegan Murray. I mean, think how good they were there in the second half. Like, their coaching staff does a great job and of just finding the right pieces. And Rabraka's made a big jump from last year. Sanfort's a game changer. Like, he can be a game changer. And then, the rest of those guys, Chris Murray is fabulous. You saw that. You saw why everybody's making a big deal about him. He's a tough shot maker. I mean, there's very few people out there that can consistently make tough shots, and he's one of them. But no, it's a good win for our team. Really good win for our team. We got to be able to build on this and just keep getting better.
Matt, it was pretty much two halves out there. What was the difference between the first half and second? Obviously, pace, points. How was Iowa able to control the pace of the second?
Yeah, well, they outscored us by 3 in the second half. So a lot of times when it ends that way and you're ugly, like, you turn the ball over and it just doesn't finish right. Like, people leave, and then like, oh man, I wish we could have taken care of the basketball. And I'm not going to apologize for beating a 6th seed in the NCAA tournament by 14 points. First thing I told our guys in there was, you're out rebounding by 20. Because everybody's going to talk about those turnovers. Sure, we don't want to turn the basketball over, but we also worked really hard to be in a great position. Doesn't mean we're trying to relax, but we simply couldn't stop them. But the good news was they couldn't stop us either. And so there in the second half, it was just back and forth. It'd be great for a fan if he had two halves that way. I don't think it'd be great for coaches. So, but that piece of it is, you got to do a better job of being able to score and then go and set your defense. And you see when you don't set your defense or you don't get up there and get the basketball and match up right away, you can see how quick they can turn and get a 3 or get a drive. But I also think it's a great game because they doubled Zach Edey every single time he touched it, and we're still able to score 87 points. I think that's a positive.
You talked about the doubling Zach Edey every time he touches it. When that happens, how important is Caleb and his energy that he brings on the interior?
Yeah, you got to be quick on your dives. We dive a lot with our other big. And a couple times he didn't dive, and it hurt us because, when you dive and they don't take you, you get a layup. When you dive and they take you, they've pulled somebody. So, and now you got 2-on-1 on that backside, so it's easier to make that pass. They'll just match up to you, if you don't dive, in those positions. But I thought Caleb was great. Obviously, he got a double-double. He hit a big 3 in the game. But, I thought he did a lot of good things. Him and Mason together, they didn't play it all together. And they had 21 and 14. That's not bad from your four slot.
Matt, you've mentioned many times about Zach not having the accolades and stuff because he didn't play basketball until, 5 years ago. And he came in here and just went to work. Braden, I know he had a fabulous high school career, Mr. Basketball, but is he of that same mold where he wasn't highly recruited when you offered him a scholarship and he feels like, hey, I've got a lot to prove. I got to go in there and put in the work?
Yeah. Well, Braden's a good player. He's very instinctual. You know, he has a very good natural feel for the game, when to pass, when to drive, when to shoot. But yeah, I think that creates a chip on your shoulder. I mean, Braden's been playing basketball his whole life. Zach hasn't. So there's the difference, even though weren't, highly recruited guys. You know, the key isn't to be as good as you can be when you're 17 or 18. The key is to be as good as you can be when you're 22. You know, because that's the, where you're ranked or how you're recruited really doesn't matter. It just doesn't. As long as you can get an opportunity, and both of those guys obviously have. But no, I think that chip on your shoulder, when you've been around other players that you know that you can compete with, that get a lot more attention, you act like that's not important to you. But I think it's important to all of them. You know, they want their just due. But you got to produce. And then obviously tonight, Braden produced.
Matt, the first half was really sparked by your defense. It seemed both Zach Edey challenging shots at the rim and in the mid-range, and then Ethan Morton. I think Chris Murray had 6 points, none of them on Morton in the first half. How good were they in just shutting down what Iowa does?
Yeah, you're just adjusting to a new arena. You're getting in there. If you deal with a skilled team that kind of starts off hot and gets going, like that's a huge concern. Just because now, like I said earlier, you don't want 40 minutes of that. We just didn't let them get into a rhythm at that time. I thought we contested shots. I thought we were there. Zach did a good job of kind of patrolling the paint and changing some shots, blocking some shots. Ethan did a good job on Chris Murray. But then once they got their head up, that was the difference in the second half. You can't allow those guys to get their heads up, but, that's easier said than done. But I thought we did a good job of just setting the tempo of the game by being able to get stops. If you're getting stops against them, they can't set up and get into their press, and that's what they want to do. You see the press have more success in the second half, where they had more opportunities in the second half because they kept scoring.
Matt, when Mason or Caleb are hitting threes, what does that mean for your offense?
Just the balance, just the spacing, more than anything. I thought Mason came in the game in the first half and really gave us a spark. Got that layup when Zach bobbled the basketball, knocked down some shots for us. Just that spacing. Anytime you can have a four that can dive and finish at the rim and also knock down shots, it makes those guys think about what they're doing from a doubling standpoint, because you can get going like Mason did against Penn State and just change the entire game.
Hey, Matt, question. Zach, 6 for 6 from the line, 4 for 7 from the field, more free throws than field goals scored. What's that say about his overall game and what he's bringing to the table every single game?
Well, I just thought he was patient. Be a great rebounder every game. He's been a great rebounder. And there's some things you can't control. They double him. Be a great passer. Help our team out. And he gets more. He has 4 assists tonight. He got a couple hockey assists too, where he got it out of there, and then they make that next pass. Just a good all-around player. He struggled last year from the free throw line. He's made that improvement. He's gotten better. He's been a better rebounder. He's been better in ball screen defense. He's blocked more shots. He stayed in the game. He's able to play without fouling. He had a couple fouls tonight. I didn't think one of them was a foul, but it's part of it. It's 50 feet away from me too. But no, he's been phenomenal. He's very humble, very, very humble, very down to earth, but also competitive and got an edge to him. It's a pretty good recipe.